Thank you. Hi, I'm Deborah and I'm an addict. Wow. So this is what it's like to be up here. When Sandra asked me to introduce to her, I thought it was an honor and a privilege to come up here and introduce her. Because it's one thing that I know that she always told me, when you're asked to be of service, say yes if you can. So, of course, I said yes. But I met this lady back in 2008, in my first meeting in Narcotics Anonymous in the Augusta area. I heard her share experience. And after that meeting, I approached her and I was introduced to her, and it was suggested to me that she be my sponsor. Well, it took me a couple months to ask her, but I finally asked her to be my sponsor, and I'm glad I did. I'm very grateful to have her in my life. I'm glad she's a part of my foundation and my network, because truly she is a person that truly believes in me and I have faith in, and I trust her with my life. Oh my goodness. And when I heard her share and I approached her and asked to be my sponsor, she put me in her hip pocket. You know, they say to get me in the hip pocket of someone, you know, with the winners. So she put me in her hip pocket. You know, I went everywhere with her, inside, we did things inside and outside the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. But through that, I've found the message of recovery. And I also got a taste of a new way of living through her, Sandra Mays. She walks the walk, she talks recovery. Her whole being is, you can just tell that she practiced spiritual principles in her daily life. And I am so grateful that she's a part of my life. My husband died 2 years ago, and she didn't hesitate to stay over. We cried together, we laughed together, we shared experiences together. We did a lot of things together, and she was there for me, you know. And that also tells me this program, I don't never have to do nothing by myself, never again. And I'm gonna tell you, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that she told me that sticks with me today, 5 years later, that when you walk into this meeting, get your coffee, go to the bathroom, and sit down, because you never know when you might miss a message of recovery. So I'm going to leave you with that message. Do what you got to do. Get your coffee, go to the bathroom, and sit down, because she's got a powerful message. Okay, and here is Sandra Mays. Thank you. I was looking for that Sandra. I'm Sandra the Addict. Oh, all this new technology stuff up here. Thank you so much, Deborah, for the introduction. I want to thank Greater Inc. for asking me to come and share my experience, strength, and hope. There's a lot of y'all out here. I love y'all. Love you too. I often say when the tears start flowing, and I start making those exit trips all day long, God is getting ready to do something. I don't know what, and I'm excited because I'm going to get to find out when y'all find out. Ended up, I listened to Ray last night, and he was telling my stories. It's cold. I haven't had a cold in years. I don't even know what you do. I went to the store last night. I bought Ricolas, got that commercial Ricola. So I'm thinking, you know, if I get some Ricolas, you know, that'll help. And Halls, you know, with the mentholatum and all that. And I don't even know how you prepared for symptoms like this. And so my throat's been hurting. I thought about, I said, I need to be like a Lucia's moment and get me a cookie, you know. I need somebody to talk on my behalf, right? So those of you who know about it, y'all know what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, you know, I'm going to share my experience, strength, and hope. When George called me, and I think I called back and I said, is there a topic? And he was trying to tell me, no, you know, people just normally just share their story. And I don't think they gave me enough time to share my whole story. So I'm going to share what God puts on my heart to share. And I want to move out of the way so I can allow God to do what he does. You know, I was told don't preach, But if it come out and it's strong, it's because, I'm trying to talk past the soreness of my throat. That's my justification, right? And then, I don't fuss, but, it's just the way I talk. And so I'm going to go ahead and get all that out the way. And then if you get hit, they should have told me to bring some helmets and whatever you need, protective gear. But I got my story because my story is my story. And the passion that I have for this process that I'm in, sometimes it comes out like I'm fussing at y'all, but I'm really talking to the enemy, because the enemy always be the one that try to hinder me from going where God wants me to go. And so I have to let her know up front that this is not about us, this is about God, right? And so when I started thinking about the theme, the NA, a new way of life, I thought about that. But before I go there, I was real emotional early on, because my friend, he would have been sitting right there. He would have been sitting there, kicked back, and he would have had his little hat down, and he'd have been smiling, because I heard him in my spirit this morning say, I love you. Saying, I love you. And I miss him. I miss him. And I came in here yesterday, and as soon as I walked past one of the monitors, there he is. Okay. And the addict was with me. She said, he wanted to see us. I said, no, I needed to see him. And so I'm real grateful for the people who have planted seeds in my life. I'm a crier. I brought a few of these napkins up here, but it is what it is. That's just, anyway. But nonetheless, I'm here in this new way of life, and I thank God for it. And so he said, tell some what it was like, what it is today, all that, what happened. Y'all know what happened. Ray told y'all last night. If y'all weren't here, now I'm going to just bring y'all up. I talk fast. I said, the disease that I have, it been playing on me. First, the disease, my thinking told me I really didn't have anything to share. I really didn't have anything. And so what I did, and I posted it up, I said, well, I read some basic text. I show the disease. I get something for you. So I go to the basics. I go to my literature when I begin to tell myself that I'm not where I believe that I am, because where I am is right where I'm supposed to be. That I can't be where nobody else is. I can't share. Now I said, listen to that, Mr. Ray, with those eloquent words and how calm and peaceful he is. Like he just, Sometimes, I'll be all over here, I'll be all over there, and I'll be moving this way. If it come up, I'm going to share it, and then I have to go back, and I say I'm going to get back to it, and sometimes I never do. I put that on old age, but then too, it may just be God wasn't ready for y'all to hear that, or for me to expose that. And so I'm going to keep coming, because more will be revealed. Amen? I'm going to have to apologize for that one right there, right? But see, I'm going to be very careful, because, see, I know I'm not confused, and I know that I do have a God in my life, that I know that God has given me 2 programs. But I know that he's such a loving and caring God that he won't risk our lives for me infringing and violating the concepts and the principles of Narcotics Anonymous embedded in the traditions. And so y'all hold that to love on me, all right? And so when I came in Narcotics Anonymous back in 1996, but I had some time in here with y'all prior to that, because I thought I was ready, but I really wanted to show somebody. My ex-husband coming to the rooms, I'm going to come too. And so I came with him, but I wasn't ready. I used drugs majority of my life. I was introduced. My great-grandmother introduced me to the liquid form of drugs. Not because she wanted me to get drunk, but because of the fact that she used to make plum brandy, peach brandy, all these brandies, all this stuff. She used to do that, slip it and get the peaches out, whatever, put it in a pillowcase, double knotted in a pillowcase, thank you, and put it in another pillowcase, and then she would put it up under the kitchen cabinet, and she would pull it out, and she would give us a little sip, and then I would go back and I would get a little sip more, and I would put a little bit more water in that thing, so she wouldn't know I was already covering up my lies, already being deceitful, already, stealing and all this old crap. Didn't even realize it, right? And so it was so good, it made me feel good. It gave me the courage that I didn't have, because contrary to popular beliefs, I am very shy. I don't talk a whole lot, do I, Tracy? But nonetheless, It gave me something that I didn't have on the inside. It gave me the power and the strength that I needed to get through another day. Because see, when I grew up, my dad was already incarcerated. And I didn't have a father in the home. And so I was raised by my great-grandmother, my mom, my aunts, and all the other people, that participated, everybody, the neighbors, all the folks was trying to help. They were trying to help me, really, And so anyway, that started a vicious cycle of trying to find something on the outside of myself to make me whole. And all of it wasn't just alcohol. If you told me I looked good, I wanted to be with you. I needed to be with you because you showed me something that I didn't have. I didn't realize till I got here that the first relationship that I would ever have to teach me how to be available in the life of a man was already tainted because I was not in the life. My father was not in my life in that capacity. He wasn't in the home. I had to visit him. I couldn't sit on his lap. I couldn't tell him what was going on. I couldn't do none of that because he was on one side of the table and we were on the other side of the table. And so I couldn't share with him my innermost things. And he didn't come to basketball games and he didn't do all the stuff that fathers do. And so I didn't realize how important it was for me to have that role model in my life. And so if you told me I was cute, we was in love and we was going together and all that stuff. And so, this thing started manifesting itself way early on in my life that I was people pleasing, didn't realize it till it took me a time. I got here, I was 36. So y'all had to tell me I was people pleasing. When I go out my way to make you happy and then because you don't do what I want you to do, now I'm unhappy, but I can't tell nobody I'm unhappy and I'm now caught up in this conflict and all this confusion, and I wanted to make you happy because you being my friend was the best thing that could ever happen to me. And I had a problem building relationships because I always felt that I had to buy you to be in my life. I always felt that I had to give you what you needed to be in my life. And so I never, ever, ever, ever had those good, solid relationships growing up. It was always contingent upon what can I do for you to get you to like me. And I learned that I didn't like myself. And that's why I was doing all those things. And I used drugs and I used drugs and I used drugs and I used drugs and I used drugs. I used to do dope, and now I don't.
That's right. That's right.
I wanted to feel whole. I was empty. I was lost. I was confused. When I used, it made me feel powerful. It gave me the courage to tell people to kiss something. Whatever. When people said that we'll pray for your so-and-so self, I'm good. Good. I need you to pray for me. Now I'm saying, please pray for me. It helped me to get through another day. I didn't know how broken I was because I always wore this thing that I can handle it. I can handle it. Whatever come my way, I can handle it. My shoulders are broad enough, I can deal with life. But I didn't realize that my dealing almost cost me my life. That the things that I was doing to continue this vicious cycle of using dope, it almost killed me. Y'all told me that. I was like, really? How did you know? Right? I almost killed myself. I don't know, I don't have all I know is what I know. I know that it started out, it was fun. Literature told me that too, but I realized it. In the beginning, using was fun. You go blow a couple before you go to the football game, and you go do what you got to do. You at the football game, you at the sock hop, everything is rocking and rolling. Next thing you know, after some time, you at the sock hop, but you're locked in a car in the back seat with some other folk, smoke pouring all out the car, and you can't move no matter what. What happened to the sock hop? Didn't get there. I don't know. Who was there? What happened? Then it got to a place where now you're putting it down, boom, boom, boom. You're bringing it all back up. They drop you off at your doorstep. You didn't even went to the game. You didn't even get out of the car. You was like this. That was a progression of the disease that I didn't even know that I had. I didn't even know I had a disease. I just thought that if I keep putting it in me, that I was going to be all right. But then, when I would intake so much that therefore it would be coming back up. It would be coming back up. And then what I would say was, let me get some more. I'm puking all over the place. And I get cleaned up and I'm calling people talking about, y'all done went to the game yet? We just dropped you off, fool. This was before cell phones, right? So anyway, that part of my life, I used and I used. But in the midst of it, I used to say that it was at my end of the road, but more so it was just in the middle of the road, because this 19-year-old dude saw some interest in me. I didn't know he was 19. I was 29, so you do the math on that, right? They call it cougar now, right? But look, all I know, I heard Dale, my friend Dale, say it's a big old NA mean have fun. And so I didn't come in here not to enjoy life like other people do. Y'all said I could live and enjoy life like other people do. So I like to have fun. I'm not the comedian on this program, but nonetheless, if it's funny, let's laugh together, all right? Because, we cry together, we can do everything, we can do some things together. And so nonetheless, when I got with him, he rocked my world. I mean, he really rocked my world. Like, boom, upside your head. Hey, boom. He took that to another level. My husband did, but I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. And so nonetheless, I didn't know any better, but what I did was I dropped my husband because of the abuse, and I picked up somebody a little bit younger, more powerful than my husband. And so therefore I was repeating the same thing, thinking it was going to be different, but nonetheless, it was the same thing. And then he was doing some stuff. He can do anything but work. He can fix stereos, TVs, VCRs, Nintendos. He could play video games. He could cook. He could do all that, but he couldn't work. But that's all right because he was 19. And I made it my life's work to take care of him. Then I complained about the fact that he wouldn't work. But then when he started using, he knew I had the money. And he said, if you love me, you will do this. Now, my house had turned into the house where people came. They ain't putting nothing in the window, we just let them in. I put nothing in the old hole, just come on in. They came in, I gave up my daughter's bedroom, that was the get down room. I gave up my son's room, that was a do whatever you want to do room. And I'm sitting on my bed and he says, if you love me, you would do this. Now, I saw some of y'all coming in and y'all would have your leather coats on and that Michael Kors bag wouldn't have stood a chance. You'd have left it at the house and your boots would have been left. A dude walked out the house. He had on these nice cowboy boots. He left out barefoot with his leather coat was hanging on the coat rack in the house. And I saw all of this. I saw the women that was slapping, flipping, and rubbing it down and going on about their business and doing things that, we as women sometimes do. And I still, with tears running down my eyes, all I heard was, if you love me, you will do this. Now, mind you, I didn't know the first thing about what love was, but in all actuality, it seemed like it was a 19-year-old hump that, had some looks about him and he liked me. And so I felt like, this must be love. And I can remember smoking on that beer can. I was smoking a beer. And crying. And my life started spiraling down. Trying to stay up all night to go to a job 4 o'clock in the morning. About to fall over into the baking pan and the biscuit mix. My life started going to hell in a handbasket. It became more difficult to keep it a secret. It became so hard. Family members was going to tell my mom, I never wanted to disappoint my mom. because she put this thing on me, and she said, "You're not like my other kids. You can handle stuff." I guess after she seen I had got beat down a few times, and I kept going back for more and kept going back. You can handle stuff, and so I didn't want to let her down by not being able to handle this thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I can handle it. But it had became prevalent. It had became obvious that I could not handle this. It had taken all my stuff, everything. Anything I bought for the kids, I had to try and go back and get it just to turn it around and take it back. That anything groceries, selling out the freezer, toys, whatever it was, me. To try to keep up this addiction, this habit, this thing that had taken control of my life. And not only did it take control of my life, that it ruined the lives of the very people that I said that I was going to protect. That they was casualties because of my addiction. That I drugged them in it because they didn't ask for it. They didn't ask the fact that when they saw me with something hanging to my mouth for me to say, no, it's not what you think it is. It's really not that. They didn't ask to walk into a room and see people doing things with their mouths and legs and all, whatever they were doing. They couldn't even get in their own bedroom. They didn't ask for that. And I brought them into my insanity. And I almost killed them because I was so insane. They kicked my door in. When I say they, I'm talking about them folk. They kicked the door in. I was trying to have some sense of normalcy. So I was going to go to, we have this American Legion thing across the water. And I was going to go to the American Legion to a party. I was going to show myself that I could really party like other people and come on back to the house, right? And so they was up there doing things. I went down the road to get an iron because I didn't even have an iron. I don't even know why I needed one because I didn't have electricity. I was running my electricity for somebody's house up the road. So I was going to get an iron. That don't even make sense. I was going to cop. I guarantee you I was going to get high. You know why? Because they pulled it out and I got stuck. I got stuck and somebody came and said, "Sam, they done kicked in your house." And I'm like, what? I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, well, come on. It's like, girl, they done kicked your door in. So I was like, all right, you know what I said? I'll be back. I'll be back. So I go up there and I'm talking about putting them at risk. And I go up there and the folk got this big old gun and they got it holding on my son. And, he said, "Man, get that gun out my face." And it's like, "Little boy, you need to stop." And I'm like, dude, please. As soon as they left, first thing came out my mouth, I didn't say, "Son, how you doing?" I said, "Whew, I gotta go get me one." I needed something to bring me back down that was gonna take me up and out. I heard Ray share last night about, and I was like, wow. They said, "You'll hear your story." So the part that I heard was mine. Part of my story is, social service did not come and get my kids. They must have had a spiritual awakening. Because they said, "We going to Nana house." And so they left home. And I didn't have sense enough to try to go after them. Stay right where I was with the drop cord, running from somebody else's house, using a bucket for a pot, so afraid that I'm locked in. I got this house, my mom's house is big house. It's got like 9 rooms that we added on when we moved in with my grandmama. And so I'm locked in one room, got a wood heater that could take this old structure down at any moment. I got a 5-gallon bucket because I'm too afraid to go outside of the room and use the actual freaking bathroom. And so I'm stuck in this house and I'm wearing dirty clothes, still trying to go to work. And I still tell myself I'm okay. Uniform, yeah. Uniform so dirty you could scrape the dirt out of it, but I'm putting them back on, and the biscuit mix is all over the pants, and I'm up in there serving folk food and using in the bathroom. Can't even wait till I get home no more. Calling the drug dealer on the job, saying I just got paid, and I'm calling them, and I'm using in the bathroom, stuck in the bathroom on a job, but I'm all right. Using wasn't fun no more. It was costing too much. Staying up all night long, putting your mouth on places that no man has ever gone before. Looking at people when you got your right mind just momentarily, you're saying, I did what? Get sick to your own stomach because of the behavior that I done displayed and things that I done acted out on, and come in the rooms and I was still getting sick to my stomach to the fact that I allowed myself to go to the low of the low, doing the very things that I said I wasn't gonna do. I did those very things. I love that man right there. I don't even know him, but yeah. And so when I went to that first meeting with my ex-husband, well, he wasn't my ex then, we were married, and I thought I was ready. I don't know how much time I got, so y'all have to do me like this, because I come on tomorrow, I'll be over here, so we go all day. So but I went to the meeting, and I picked up the white chip, met a young lady, some other people. I sat at the back of the room. I was paranoid. I thought y'all were talking about me. And I went and got that white chip, and I left that meeting excited to have the white chip and tried to pimp the white chip up a piece. Let me get something, I went to the meeting. The white chip. He said, yeah, that's good. The white chips weren't bringing in too much dough, y'all. But I wasn't ready. I found out I wasn't ready. I even once I called DSS and I told them I had a drug problem shortly after that time, and I thought I wanted some help. But then somebody came by, they had something that I didn't have to pay for, and so that quickly dissipated. I really wasn't ready. I had this guy, my sister-in-law. She used to be my dealer, and that was my husband's sister. And she had this guy that he worked for the union hall, right? He was a union worker, and so she had told me union workers make good money. So now I'm working, my brain is really working, because this is going to help me come up. I'm going to come up because he making money, right? But her motive, she wanted me to roll him for the money. Y'all, roll him for the money. But I wasn't trying to mess this up. No ma'am, I'm not going to do that. I am not that type of woman. Of course I'm not doing that. I'm your sister-in-law, right? But then now when she in the quietness of her own bedroom, I'm going up on up in there, and we're going to talk, because we finna fall in love and possibly get married and may even have some children. And I wanted to build a relationship with him, and he fell for it, right? He fell for it, and I moved him right on in. I moved him into my house, because I got a voucher by that time, and I got an apartment, and me and my kids were supposed to be in our apartment. So what I do, I go get a cat and move him in there with us. Never really get to know who my children are, because I always had some man up in my house that I didn't get to know my own children, because I always put them second to my own needs. Y'all say it was because I was totally self-centered. That at the core of my disease was my self-centeredness, right? And so I done moved him in. I done made life real good for him. Wanted to make sure that I was taking care of his money that was going to be coming in. I stuck by him until he got a call from the union hall, right? And the money was coming in, and it was good. And I was riding to Spartanburg and picking up the money. Western Union was sending the money. By the time Western Union sent it, he tell me to come on Friday. Boo, I can't do that. I ain't got no gas money. What you mean you ain't got no money? I just sent the money. Well, what happened was, and so I kept doing that, and then what I looked at was, and I think I was early recovery, and his W-2 came to the house, right? And I opened the mail. I'm like, dang, bro's making this kind of money, and I screwed the money up because I ain't have to pay no rent. I'm on the voucher program. I ain't have to buy no groceries. I'm on the food stamp program. I was getting a check for power, so all his money was mine. And I pissed it away just like I did all my other stuff. And then one day he said, you need to do something. Because I'm going to take your children and I'm going to leave here. You going to take my kids? Nah, I care about them, right? How you going to take my children? How you going to do that? And so I called myself trying to run and get some help, but I wasn't ready. That didn't work either. In the literature it talks about only until we get beaten do we become willing. And so I got beat up so much that I thought I was doing it to save this relationship, but he was just a catalyst that the God of my understanding used to get me to where he wanted me to be. Because I had gave all that I had. Then what I didn't realize that it wasn't the material things that I had given the most of. It was the inward me that I had given everything that I was, everything that God had given me from birth. I had given it to somebody else or some substance or some the act of addiction, the disease of addiction robbed me of the benefits that life had to offer me. I ain't preaching, darn, wherever you at. And so I use. And then when I made a decision that I couldn't do it anymore, I remembered when I went and got that assessment done at that outpatient treatment facility. I wanted to do inpatient. Oh my God, I cannot watch these people use every day around me, and I can't go somewhere. But the God of my understanding did not see fit for me to be an inpatient. He said, no, you're going to go this place, and if you really want it, then he didn't say it like this, but I'm saying it today, show me what you're working with. If you really want it. And every day I would go to outpatient treatment, and they would pick me up and they would take me, and I started feeling better about my life. Things were better. I was eating better, it was showing up too, right? And so I saw this girl come in. Now mind you, I had already been to one meeting, but I saw this girl come in the group, and she was getting this paper signed, and so I wanted to get everything that I needed to get from this treatment facility so that I could live life without using. And if that piece of paper was going to help me, I wanted to get her done. And so I asked, and she told me, and I went to a meeting in my area. Well, this is my area. I went to a meeting, and I went to a meeting in my neighborhood, say it like that, my community, across the bridge. And I went in there, and I told them, and nobody was shocked. I said, my name is Sandra, I'm an addict. And it wasn't like they was like, after they said welcome, it wasn't like they was saying, glad come on, girl, you're doing it now. It was after the meeting, they gave me hugs, right? They gave me hugs, but it wasn't what in my mind, maybe I thought that it was supposed to be a little bit more, like, ooh, good, you're here. I don't know what the expectation was, but it didn't happen. Put it like that. And they were drinking their coffee. They were doing what they were doing. And it is not to, I mean, you know, I love everybody. This is a God-given program. But early on, I didn't recognize anybody that looked like me. I thought recovery needed to look like me. I thought we had to be the same, from the same culture. I thought we had to be same ethnicity. I thought everything had to be the same, because I did not, even though I saw these women coming in and they were not African American women coming in, dropping in like it was hot and leaving everything at the house, you know, because, you know, we didn't have no gold chains and all that jewelry and stuff. They were bringing all that stuff and we was getting rid of it as fast as they brought it. When I got to the room, when I looked across the room, I didn't see anybody that my color. I was focused on what I was seeing with my eyes rather than what God was doing, because I didn't really realize that God was in the midst. I was blind. I was blind. I was toe up. I was trying to fit in so I could see what was really going on. And then somebody told me about the bottom group at the M&M Scott building. And I wanted to they said that's where they at. And I came to a meeting over here, and you went somewhere and you just felt like you were at home.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I got in the rooms, and the identification, and I was reading and said our identification is all inclusive. But when I got in that room and I heard people talking like I felt.
That's right.
I heard women talking about giving of themselves when they didn't want to. And I heard people talking about still. This one girl wrote us down with taking her mama pocketbook, get over the pocketbook. But nonetheless, I heard that stuff because I tried that. I wasn't a real thief, because my mama, she would take care of my great uncle. And when he died, I thought I could steal that Social Security check. And she not know. I don't know who got that so-and-so check. But it better be right where it was when I left it. I was too scared to steal. So I politely, when she would work, I put the check back. Nonetheless, when I got into this meeting, I felt so at peace. I felt like I belonged. I felt because of the identification that I can hear. I hear my story. I hear people talking, and they were talking like I used to talk. Shut up. No, they didn't say shut up. Sit down. Shut the freak up. And they would share, and everything came out their mouth was F and D and G, D and OD, whatever, other D. They was doing it, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the joint right here, right? This is right. And my friend, he would be like, I thought he had like all this time or whatever, but nonetheless, he became one of my dearest friends, and this is what became very significant for me. In this meeting, they used to go out. They used to go out after the meeting on Friday night, and they used to go to this place, and they used to sit up, and they used to play cards, and they used to eat. But I'm new. I don't have no money, and I never played cards. You know, I don't think I tried to gamble some, you know, but they was talking about like spade without money. So, but anyway, he says to me, you want something to eat? And I'm thinking, what the devil I got to do to get a burger around here? Because see, where I come from, my family member, if you wanted to get something to eat, and my sister would have a few dollars, you ain't gonna get nothing to eat, but you can go get us a piece. What the freak you mean? I'm hungry. And so now I'm in the rooms, and he asks me, do I want something to eat? I don't even know how to respond, because I'm thinking I got to drop it like it's hot. Like, right, I'm thinking I got to do something. He said, no, all I ask you to do, saying, is do it for somebody else. And that's been what I've been standing on for 18 years, that whatever was done for me, I'm going to do it for somebody else. And it was somebody else. That guy used to come across. Now, he was a trip, because he would come to North Augusta to pick me up. And he had me so afraid that if I'm not going to really put on the brakes, I ain't blowing no horn. If your A want to go to the meeting, you need to be out at the door when I pull up. So now I'm at the window. I'm looking. I'm peeping. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss my ride, because I really wanted to go. And I didn't want to make him mad, because he might have not picked me up.
That's right.
But then y'all say this, get to the meeting, we'll get you home.
That's right.
Get to a meeting, we'll get you home. I said that in a meeting not too long ago. It's been, 3 years now? I said it in a meeting. I said, get to a meeting, we'll get you home. And I kept saying it, and then this guy, he stood up in the meeting, newcomer stood in the meeting. He said, it's not really a burning desire, but I'm a newcomer. I don't have a ride home. So after the meeting, I go to my friend. I said, boy, we got to take him home, right? She said, no, you have to take him home. But she rolled with me. We took him home, but that's what I have been saying. If you get to the meeting, we'll get you home. Because we have so many newcomers that don't come to meetings because they don't have transportation. And so we need to keep telling them, get to the meeting, we'll take you home. We'll get you home. I was so compulsive yesterday. I was calling this newcomer. She had called when I come to the convention, and I was calling her trying to see if she needed me to pick her up because I was working out where she lives, somewhere close by. Really wasn't close, but I would have went anyway.
That's
right? And so she didn't pick up. But then another addict told me, I asked her, was she here last night? And she said, yeah, she's here. I said, yeah, good, because I was calling her. You know what I'm saying? It's about helping the next person to get to where I got. What they did for me in the beginning, it worked for me. For people to take and come out of their way to pick me up, to get me to the meeting, and then on top of that, put me in service.
That's right.
Started open up a door, ain't got no ride. They gave me the key.
That's right.
But I made it my business to get to a meeting. One of my friends, we were friends in Addicts. We're friends now because he's clean. He just went a different route, and so I had $2. I had $2. And he was still using, but I needed to get to the meeting because I had the key. And he said, I'll come back and get you. I was like, oh, he was still using. Gotta call somebody with that phone list set because I ain't gonna be able to open that door. Next thing I know, I heard somebody knocking on my door. Girl, you going? I'm like, yes. And I opened a meeting, and I was a GSR, and I was in service, and I was doing what I needed to do. And before you know it, I had met some clean time. I had my first celebration that was off the chain. Staying clean 365 days, no mind, mood, altered, changing substances. And being able to live life, what I thought was crazy. Now that first year was crazy. Kids, who are you? Trying to be alone with myself, close the door, they knocking all on the door, and I'm talking to my sponsor, she's saying, well, they don't know that they don't know it's the same behavior. I used to go in the room and I used to lock the door, put my back up against the door and do my thing. So then when I got clean and I would close the door, it was like, what you doing, Mom? What you doing? No. But then I had to learn, I needed to open the door. I needed to do something different. I need to allow them to see something different. And so I keep coming back because this way of life has afforded me to live life and enjoy it as other people do, right? And I have a sponsor. I didn't ask her to be my sponsor. She came up to me and told me she was sponsoring me. When I first, I'm going to be your sponsor. Okay, I got one of them. And so she sponsored me and she gave me what she had. And then I moved on, and it was, I moved on. I got another sponsor, and she left town and ended up getting another sponsor. And then this guy, he was sponsoring me, and it's so difficult for me at times to start anew. I wanted to latch on, and I didn't want to let go. I didn't want to change. I didn't realize God was trying to shift me so he could do something different with me. I'm not one of those people saying I had a hard time. I have a hard time with women. I don't. Women might have a hard time with me, but I don't have a hard time. Matter of fact, you know what? I can't even say that. I think I have some awesome relationships in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and outside of the rooms. And so, but I didn't want to make that change. And I remember saying that prayer, God, just allow me to allow her to help me because I don't want to die. And I'm not talking about using, I'm talking about being spiritually dead. Because at that time there had been an awakening in my spirit that I was alive for the first time in 30-something years. I was 36 when I got here. So I probably about 40-something here. But nonetheless, I felt alive, right? And so I was with this woman. She was sponsoring me, and I don't know where I'm at, but I'm finna go here, right? You know, she sponsored me for like 10 years. My granddaughter turned 11 in December, so she was here when she was born. So we had gone with the 11. And I remember we were at another addict's funeral, and I know Spirit led me to ask her. But the hardest thing for me was to be able to say, I need something different. That I had got so comfortable in uncomfortability that I didn't have to do anything. I didn't, it was cool. I was riding it out. But I knew that if I wanted to continuously to embrace the benefits of this program, that I needed to do something for me. That I could not allow my people-pleasing ideas and beliefs to overtake me, and that I stay in a relationship at that level and put my life at risk. Because the last 6 months, man, I've had so much big girl crap that we talk about this being a new way of life. That I was reading, and it says that Narcotics Anonymous is a principle-based life. It's this principle, I got it. Narcotics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who are learning to live without drugs. That's one, but that ain't the one. It talks about us living this principle-based life. It's a life based in principles. It's in here. Y'all know it. Read the book. Okay, I was trying to find it, but I did. But anyway, it's principally based. That means that there are some principles that I've learned, and I need to implement them in my life. I can work steps all day long, but when life show up and I can't put forward the things that I need to put forward in order to get through, then I'm just wasting my time talking about I'm working a step. Because if I don't have and I read it yesterday, whatever it says, that spiritual principles, they're not in conflict with each other. And so if I say I got faith, then why am I afraid? If I say there's no way, I say I trust the God of my understanding, but I'm scared to move forward. And so I had to make a decision about sponsorship in my life, and it hurt me to make the decision because I was so afraid of what the other person, I'm more scared for you than you scared for yourself. Sometimes we can die, we'll take people with us. And but anyway, I 6 months ago, I think I've been working my program pretty darn good. Woke up one day, took my grandson to daycare. When he got up, he was a little wobbly. So, I'm a jokester. I said, D man, what's up? It's like, you a little wobbly. I said, you have a hard time throwing out when you get out of the bed. He said, sometimes, Grandma. I said, Grandma do too. Gotta take a few minutes and everything wake up. So, picked him up. He was asleep. And from the daycare, I picked him up, and as he wake up, he's getting up, and I see it again. So I take him to his other grandma, and I tell them, watch him. There's something going on. It seems like it may be a little neurological, but just keep an eye on him, right? And so I have to be very careful because, see, a little knowledge will kill you. You think you're diagnosing and prognosing and everything else. And so I try not to go all the way to go all the way to the left when I need to stay right here and say, okay, what's really going on, and examine the situation and do the footwork. And so what happened that Saturday, I took him that Friday over his grandma's, and that Saturday I get a call saying he's at the hospital and they found a mass on his brain. My baby, he was 6 years old. And so now it's like, work your program. Work your program. Now it's like, you know what? We talk about being available for somebody else. When everything on the inside of me telling me scream, kick, cuss, fuss, cuss God, do this, do that. And I'm saying, okay, I'm telling my daughter this is what we need to do. I'm not about problems. Let's get into the solution, because that's what y'all teach me up in here. What is the solution? What do we need to do? He needs to have surgery. Okay, let's pray about this thing. Let's keep it moving. Let's do what needs to be done. No, you cannot swallow and bite on, chew on guilt right now. It's not the time for that. Let's step outside of ourselves and do what we need to do for him. Oh, that sounds good, don't it? And I tell you, I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. But one day I was in that hospital after they had did the resection and all that, and they couldn't get it all, and it's malignant. And but one day I was in that room, and I felt like I was crashing. And I was calling, and matter of fact, a friend of mine, she called me, and it was right on time. And she said, "What you doing, girl?" I said, "Girl, I'm falling apart because I'm looking at him, and I know that's not how I dropped him off." And so then I'm looking at him, and I see her, and she said, "You can't, not right now." She said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in the room." She said, "You need to get out the room." Because although he may have been asleep, I didn't want, I guess, for him to hear what was going on with me. Because I had put myself somewhere in the lives of my family. I'm available for them. And so sometimes it gets so overbearing, and that, but when they see me, the expectation is grandma know what to do, mama know what to do, auntie know what to do, my friend Sandra know what to say. She's an encourager, she's a supporter. My mom, oh, that's a whole nother story. Raise your finger and let me tell you about that one in a minute. That's my baby. And so I maintain and I do what needs to be done. And just so God had me to go back to school some years ago, because I've been working in the community and doing stuff, helping other people, and so now I know how to find stuff that other people can't find, and try to find it. If I can't find it, y'all, because y'all know how we was looking for stuff, all in the carpet, all in the napkin of the carpet, trying to find it. I do that on my job. I try to find what people need. And people oftentimes we don't get stuff and have things that happen for us because we don't know where to look. And so I look for stuff, and I know a few things, and I told my daughter, we need to ask him about this, we need to ask about that. And so nonetheless, he's 7 years old, he turned 7 years old, and this thing has taught me to embrace the people in my life and to love them, because we never know. We never know. Now, he ain't gone nowhere, and I ain't even to say he gone, but what I do know is that this little boy, first I messed up, but it works out. They said he wants something. I said, I said, you can get whatever. I said, you can have whatever you want. Because I say I have faith, but at the same time, I was operating out of the fear that I was going to miss out on the opportunity to give him something that he had asked me for. And so he started working it. Grandma, you think I can get some McDonald's? Chinese food? I want a tablet. I need some headphones, a laptop. I'm the money grandma. But it taught me to embrace and have fun. I remember we went, matter of fact, with my grandchildren, I do something different I never did with my children, is we go on vacation. And so I decided 1 or 2 years, to take their mama. So I took her. But this past summer we went to the beach, and he had overcome a fear. One of his relatives on his other side, had thought it was nice and cute to put his head under the water or whatever. And he was afraid to go back to the water. But this past summer, he started wanting to swim. I'm going to teach you, little grandmama can't swim, right? But how it worked out, a young lady I took with me, and she's a person who's been here, but has not surrendered to enough to want to stay here. And I leave it like that. So I took her. Take a vacation. We'll show you how other people live. Show you how to live. We do that thing. We show you how, enjoy life. So anyway, she could swim and she could teach him. And he was able to get out there and do a little something and face his fear. And I was so proud of him. And then he said, he held up the little thing. I took his pictures and he told me the other week, he said, I want to go back to the beach. I said, you'll go. Grandma will get you there. I already know how to get the wheelchair. I already know what to do. I won't miss out on no moments to enjoy my kids, my grandkids, man, because in my family, I took a trip. They got a trip free. All expense paid trip to Orlando. How dare y'all go to Orlando and they, people won't even take me, the grandma, they won't take me. You know what I said, right? I'm coming. And I went down and I enjoyed them and they had a great time and just embracing life. And so I'm on this roller coaster and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm still I got to go to work. I got to do. And I'm on this job and I wanted to change jobs, but I only wanted to change jobs because I wanted more money to buy more stuff, to have more credit cards, to be in more debt, right? And so I was saying, okay, God, why is it that I can't get another job? What's really going on? But thank God that I didn't get the job because my supervisor say, you answer your telephone, you go to the hospital, you do what you need to do, not just for my grandson. If you need to take your mom to an appointment, you do that. Just answer your phone, be available for us when we need you. And that's why I couldn't get a job. And then it was like, what do you mean you want a job for money? I thought you said now that you were clean and you were living life as other people do, and now you had this spiritual awakening that you was going to be working for me. Oh. Because I say my job is ministry for me. That's what I do. I'm a servant. I'm a servant. Y'all taught me how to serve. Matter of fact, y'all taught me how to go in public places and share some stuff about the company and organizations. And y'all taught me how to speak in front of large bodies of people. Y'all taught me how to do that. And so now my time is to do what I'm supposed to do in the season that I'm in my life.
That's right.
Being in this season, going through this thing with my family, it taught me. It taught me how to step outside of myself and to tell my daughter, encourage and support her, because I don't know what it's like to be told your son has cancer. I don't know what that is like to they telling you 18 months that he may be. I said, no, we ain't even accepting that. We're going to live in today, right now. Today is where we're going to live. And so when they had to go to Atlanta, I messed around. I was talking to a group of colleagues and I was saying, y'all go ahead on with your grandma thing, taking care of your grandchildren, taking them to school, doing all that grandma stuff. Y'all go ahead and do that. I said, but I ain't going to be the one to be doing all that. I love them. I take them back to the house. That's what I do. I'm a grandma. All of a sudden, my daughter had to leave her job and move to Atlanta for 90 days. And I was getting up. 5:45, 6 o'clock. By the time I got a little grandson, glory. I got to get the boy, and he don't want to put on his clothes, and that's her grandson. And I got to get up at 5:45, 6 o'clock. I got to get him up. I got to get him ready for daycare, for school. My granddaughter want to be at school for 7:30. You can eat breakfast at home. Give us those extra 15 minutes. Anything. Getting them to where they're supposed to be. Okay, I got to drop them out. My mom, I cannot make her not go to work. And so therefore, she don't drive anymore. Thank God. And so now I got to go back to the house, take her to work, take her to work, go to work myself. I started saying, I think they said in the Marines I do more at 7 o'clock than most people do all day. But what I learned in that was, and I only learned it after my daughter got back, was that I was trying to be a better mom. I was a piss poor mama. Didn't know how to be a mom. Definitely didn't know how to be nobody's wife. And I was trying to be a better mom. I don't know if it was an amends or I was trying to outdo her, but I have a greater respect for single mamas because getting up, trying to get kids ready, trying to get them off to school, trying to go to work, come home, tell my granddaughter no boys and girls club after 5 o'clock. We have to get home. I got to feed y'all. You got to do homework. We got to get ready for tomorrow. And the thought cycle just keeps going, keeps going. And the insanity about that is when my daughter came home, I didn't want to relinquish the control that I believed that I thought that I had, because if I relinquish this control, now what I'm going to do, because I found out through all of this in the 6 months that yes, Sandra, you do have a codependency. You're codependent, that you have a need to take care of other people, but you don't know how to take care of yourself. You believe you know how to take care of yourself, but the taking care of yourself is minimal. I do the basics. I do the basics for me. Get up, brush your teeth, comb your hair, do this, maybe do that, maybe do this. But if somebody else needs you, jump, move. Superman won't go ahead on, do the thing. I'll show y'all how to do it. So now when I didn't have them, I was complaining. When I had them, oh God, what are you saying to me, God? And then I remember all I say is, take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, show me how to live. Third step prayer, come here. That's the prayer that closes out all the workshop. Take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, show me how to live. This is your recovery. This is how you live. You be available for others when they need you. Somebody was available for you. And so we on this journey. We're in this season. We're just in this season right now, the here and now. And we're doing what needs to be done. And we're asking questions, and we're just doing what we need to do. And also, even in this, my mom has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. Y'all don't even have time for that, because of the fact that in her case, she still works because she does better at work. And if she wasn't at work, then I got to find somebody to keep her at home that she don't want them in her house. And so I let her go do what she do. The people she don't do nothing. Mama, how long you been through? I've been sitting a few hours. And so I also on my job, I get off at 4 o'clock to start my run, pick everybody up. And so anyway, with my mom is easy, but I think one of the biggest fears that came when we went to Orlando and she went with me, I said, okay, you're going to have to go with me. Something didn't click. I didn't lock all the locks on the door, and she got up with a regular routine like she normally would do to go to the bathroom at home, and she ended up outside the door in the hotel. Scared me so. So they saw her wandering, and then they asked her what she was looking for. She said she was looking for the bathroom, told who she was with. And so by that time, I thought I heard somebody tapping on the door, and I'm asking them, her and my niece, is somebody knocking at our door? And so apparently my niece looked over. She said, where's my nanny? I jumped up out of the bed like I was Batwoman or somebody, and there she is at the other door outside knocking, and we got her in the room. But, my life is changing, and I used to beat myself up because I couldn't be in the meetings, and I used to hear him asking me all those crazy questions. You in Bible study, what you doing, saying where you at? But now it's like my life is taking on a whole new meaning. I'm at another level in my life that really I do care what y'all think, but if you don't know my story, then you cannot be judged. You should not. You can say what you want to say, but if you don't give me a phone call, because when I'm going through, wait a minute. We always give people these phone lists and our phone numbers, and we always say, call me. But when I'm going through, I ain't calling too many people. I need to be called. I needed to receive phone calls. I need somebody to actually check on me to find out what's going on with me. If you don't see me, call me. And of course, I tried to build a resentment. Not form one, build one. But nonetheless, just doing the next right thing. And so I don't hear him. I don't hear him saying, what I heard him say today was, I love you, I'm proud of you. Say. And so I keep coming back because more will be revealed. This addict, she used to say, more will be revealed to your wretched day and mine too. More will be revealed to your wretched. I was like, why the freak she talking about wretched? Who the devil is she calling wretched? But then when I do an inventory, look how wretched I was and can still be at times, you know. And so I was like, okay, I just hadn't, my vocabulary hadn't gotten that far yet, you know. So, but, you know, I was looking and then we talked, my brother, he's helping me with my mom. You know, I had to ask for help. I need you to step up. I need you to step up. And if I don't tell people what I need, then they don't know what I need. And so I said, I need you to help me. I can't do this by myself. You know, and then on top of everything else, I got to stay in the rooms. I got to keep coming back. If I come once a week, y'all embrace me when I'm here. Embrace me. But trust me, I got these books, I paid for them, I'm going to pick them up, especially when, like I told y'all, the disease that you don't have nothing to share, so I started reading the literature. I give the disease something to share about. If you want to, I know you're up here and you're saying, oh, she's pissing me off. Well, you stay pissed off because of the fact that I keep you in prison because of the fact that I read my literature. I call my sponsor. I got a new sponsor. And oh my goodness, that's another relationship building thing. I'm not even trying to discount it. We're just building on a relationship and it's scary. And I got to make sure I do my part. We say sponsorship is a two-way street. So if I don't call her, she can't help me. If I just try to allow her to perceive where she believes that I am because I have 18 years, I may be somewhere locked and loaded. So I need to let people know where I am. And so I did call her this morning, and you know, she says, well, I'm not going to be able to be there because of A, B, C, and D. I'm like, I'm good, you know, because I no longer believe that you got to run at my beck and call. I don't believe that, you know. I'm gonna keep coming back, you know. The meditation. I'm gonna tell my back.
Got about 15 minutes.
Okay, all right.
But if you want to go on, just keep going.
Oh, you know, I'm gonna adhere to the time. Y'all said 3 o'clock. What happens is really, if I had more to share, then God would allow me to share. But if I don't have any more, I'm gonna cut off when God said cut off. But I was listening to the reading, and I was listening at the last stanza of the Just for Today. It says, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using it, who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear. As long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear. That I got people in my life that are living this program each day. Now, mind you, I don't have a whole bunch of folk all up in me, all up in my space like that. Not because I think I'm all that, because I am all that. Because of the fact that I've worked for 18 years to build up on my spiritual part of who I am, because my spirit is intact, and it's important to me not to allow you to vex me. Woo! You bringing me junk. No, if you don't want, especially if you don't want no solution, you just want to puke up on me, and then you don't want me to share anything with you. Well, I got to go. No, you ain't finna go nowhere. So I was sharing with Addicts today. A newcomer texts me these little short spurt texts, and how you doing? I'm good. How are you? So a couple of days, it was all good. You know, she trying to reach out to all this new technology stuff. Don't get somebody killed up in here. But nonetheless, she was texting me and she was saying, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Right? But see, the thing about the texting is that I can't see your face and I can't hear your voice. And so therefore, you could be dying, or you could have a gun in your mouth, anything. You could be cutting your wrist, whatever it is that people do that don't want to live anymore. And I don't hear it in the text, because the disease that I have will tell me to just text, how you doing?
Yeah.
And so I got a text yesterday.